Day 3 of Dodge Speed Week presentation, we were introduced to the future Charger Daytona SRT Banshee concept, an EV that may or may not come. The biggest takeaway from that event, other than the exhaust system on the EV, was the lack of any stats for the Banshee. No motor configurations, horsepower numbers, 0 to 60, range, or how fast it'll charge. But what if I told you the Banshee's sister car, the Maserati Grandturismo Folgore, just revealed its confirmed specs, and while impressive, it means the Banshee will be more evil in every way. So let's see if you'll change your mind about the Banshee and let go of your Hellcat for an EV Dodge future.
This is the Charger Daytona SRT Banshee.
The Dodge Charger SRT Banshee concept was shown a couple weeks ago to a very divided fan base. I've posted a few polls over the last few weeks to kind of gauge how people will like the Banshee. Slight majority don't like the name, most won't give up the Hellcat for a Dodge EV, and majority of people have a negative opinion of Dodge after Speed Week. But 57% said they would buy the Banshee without knowing any stats for it. But if I specifically asked if the Banshee had 1200 horsepower and could spank a Tesla Model S Plaid, even more people would buy the Banshee. While I'm borderline no on this car if I would get one or not, I can't deny its demonic potential. If you blinked, you would have missed the subtle still evil on the presentation board. The only evil Dodge car we are accustomed to in recent memory is the Demon. And while Dodge didn't release any info during Speed Week about the Banshee's performance, Maserati has us covered. I've done plenty of videos over the past year about Maserati's Granturismo Folgore sharing the same development timeline as Dodge's EV concept. Stellantis said during EV Day last year that all EVs will platform share components for them to cut down development costs and that several cars are being developed together.
Now we're working on these vehicles together, which allows us to share some of the most costly components in a way never before done. So 8 vehicles are now being created that will come to market in the next 3 to 5 years.
So whatever performance numbers one EV has, its siblings will be close to it. With the Folgore being a similar size to the Banshee, I believe the Banshee's performance numbers will be better in some categories. Similar to how Dodge's new Hornet is slightly more powerful than its Alfa Romeo Tonale sister. Maserati released this video a few days ago that showcases our first taste of a Stellantis EV. The Granturismo Folgore comes in 1200 horsepower tri-motor configuration with an 800-volt system.
The Charger Daytona will launch with 3 power levels all the way up to the 800-volt Banshee system.
So the stats for the Folgore should be a baseline for the top trim level for the Banshee system. The first stat we learned is the 2.6 second 0 to 60 time. This stat concerns me because now the question is, how much will these Stellantis EVs weigh? 400 more horsepower than a Demon, 200 more horsepower than a Tesla Model S Plaid, but doesn't have a closer 0 to 60 time to either of those cars. But the Maserati EV is only 1200 horsepower, and from what Tim Knissen said during the Speed Week, it doesn't have Dodge's exclusive Powershot push-to-pass system. In the Hornet, the Powershot gives a 25 horsepower boost to knock a full second off the Hornet's 0 to 60 time. Powershot lasts for only 15 seconds and requires a 15-second cooldown. But for the Banshee, it may get a more powerful version of the Powershot system than the 25 horsepower. Based on EV motor stats, the Banshee could have up to 1,326 horsepower, so maybe the Powershot for the Banshee will be an additional 50 to 100 horsepower to get the 0 to 60 closer to the 2-second range. That was the stat Stellantis said was their goal during EV Day last year. And remember how I said the Powershot lasts for 15 seconds. Dodge obviously made that their goal for running quarter-mile passes. Remember, the Demon had the fastest production time and the quarter-mile at 9.65 seconds, well within the Powershot's 15-second time limit, and the 15 seconds will probably be the quarter-mile time for some of the more less powerful Dodge EVs coming later, which will line up pretty good with the quarter-mile times of these previous Dodge cars. I do wonder, since I saw the still EVA during the presentation, if we'll see a Demon variant of the Banshee. Maybe a return of the Demon Crate from direct connection if you want to turn the Banshee into a drag spec monster with maybe something like carbon fiber wheels, a different ECU for the EV motors, or maybe an easy way to remove the passenger and rear seats to cut down on weight. I said last year that the Demon with an electrified E in the logo could work. I thought the Angel would have been a good choice, that way people can have a Demon ICE vehicle and an Angel EV version. Even Avenger EV will work as well to go after the throat of Tesla Model S Plaid. We also got the number for the top speed. The Maserati Folgore will have a top speed of over 200 miles per hour. The Demon was speed limited to 168 miles per hour, but you can go faster with the Demon Crate's ECU. After that, this Demon went 211 miles per hour. So if the Banshee will have 25% better aerodynamics and a 2-speed EV transmission, it's possible we'll see the top speed in this ballpark, which would make the Banshee the second fastest EV behind the 1700 horsepower Renault Navara's 258 mph top speed. Another important stat we got was the charge time for the Folgore. While we don't know the time it takes to fully charge the Banshee or the Folgore, we do know it'll only take 10 minutes to get 100 miles of range, 5 minutes to get 62 miles of range. Stellantis actually is targeting class-leading charging at 20 miles a minute, so the Folgore is technically half that speed. So maybe they haven't achieved that speed yet, or the Folgore doesn't have the fastest available charging system. But 100 miles in 10 minutes is nothing to sneeze at, and it is also the same charging time I could do in my Hummer EV that I have reserved from General Motors. Now the target EV range, Stellantis has set that at 500 miles, but that remains to be seen if the top performance version will have such range. Maybe 500 miles will be the top for a long range variant, and somewhere in the range of 350 miles will be for the top performance version. That seems to be the current market trend for performance EVs. The Tesla Model S Plaid, that gets 350 miles range. The Model 3 Performance, that only gets 315 miles of range. The Hummer EV Edition 1 with its Watts of Freedom mode, that's 330 miles of range. And a measly 200 miles for the Porsche Taycan Turbo S. Too many batteries adds too much weight, and so I doubt a Demon version of the Banshee will have 500 miles of range. So while Dodge didn't give much information to go on during Speed Week, Stellantis has dropped info here and there that we can apply to Dodge. The Maserati Folgore is a great example of the performance potential of the Banshee, and the Hornet is a great example of how the US spec cars will have more power than the European siblings, and how the Powershot feature could be a great feature for the Banshee or its evil demonic version to go toe-to-toe with the Tesla Model S Plaid. But as I've said, I'm still slightly no on this car. I have a Hummer EV on order because I respect GM's decision to make performance EVs and ICE vehicles like the V8 Z06 at the same time. Ford making performance EVs and a V8 6-speed Mustang at the same time. Stellantis thinking they're going to make Dodge the next Tesla and throw in a cheap Fast and Furious 2JZ inline-6 Hurricane to appease us climate deniers. An inline-6 engine isn't why the brand appealed to me in the first place, but the Banshee is something Dodge will have to demonstrate before a bunch of people I've talked to would even consider one. And no one said that about the Demon when it came out. Just saying.